Y254. Imagine.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being there and welcome back. Good morning to you. My good name is Van Sanko. If you missed the first conversation that Stephanie has had, you'll absolutely find it on YouTube at Brian Sanko Online at Y254 channel. Now, in this conversation, right about now, we're about to delve into brand visibility. Building a reputable business brand actually takes you to have extensive knowledge and know-how of your customers and the market. But however, how do you stay afloat when unpredictable and stormy seasons kick in? And our guest that I'm about to engage right now, Brian Kiriba Ngoa. He's the CEO of Handers Juice, one of the most reputable Kenya's beverage brand. He's right here to actually take us through his journey of how he became a CEO of some of this incredible, I'd say, brands that he's managing out here. His come-up story, some of the mistakes he's learned, some of the lessons as well, the wisdom. Stay around for that. And Karibu sana, Brian. Great to meet you in person, first of all, after seeing you on social media. Yeah.
Pleasure meeting you as well, Brian. Thank you.
Karibu sana. Now, for anyone, who became big, they have a story. What's your come-up story, to ask in that way? Yeah.
So my come-up story is like when we were speaking earlier, how you said the life chose you, you didn't choose the life.
Yeah.
So with me, it was more or less the same thing. Because as a child, when I was in primary school, I used to sell a couple of things that I found from my dad and my mom, and then from then on, I graduated into high school, in which I was in high school in Pakistan, which at that time, well, it still is a Muslim country, and alcohol was illegal over there. So what I used to do is. My dad had a lot of alcohol in the basement, and since all my friends were extremely rich, I used to take his alcohol and to sell to those people, and also I would host my parties and events over there. Yeah. So those were things that I was doing at a young age, and by the time I got into college, I was already used to entrepreneurship. I was already used to finding making money on my own. Yeah. In college, then I went to the United States, and the first business that I launched in college was called Imi Lounge, which was based on the problems that I was solving, and which boils down to everything basically. The key into getting into business for me was to solve a problem in a niche that I was in. Yeah. Whether it was the alcohol all the teenagers in high school, they all want to party and throwing the events which they have not seen. Yeah. To Imi Lounge now when I was in college, which was basically, I was an immigrant there. I could not find a job. I could not find a scholarship. I knew my folks would not be able to afford the school. Just a lot of issues that were surrounding me when I was in the United States. Yeah. And the biggest of them also was finding a community that understood what I was going through as an immigrant, as an international student. Yeah. So what I did was I launched a social media platform which connected immigrants together. Yeah. And most importantly, it connected them with opportunities to find scholarships, opportunities to find jobs, opportunities to find the correct visas, things of that sort. And that was my first big business at the time, because it was featured on Huffington Post.
Well,
those
are syndicated platforms.
Yes, at a young age. I believe I was 18.
Yeah, pretty early.
Yes, and so I got a taste of success at a young age. Yeah. But unfortunately, I did not understand business. My focus at that time was helping people.
Yeah.
because I was going through the same struggles.
Right.
So even though I had a social networking site with over 10,000 users, I was not
Right.
capitalizing on them because I was not charging anyone. My focus was just on giving them the information. It was and connecting them with the right people.
Yeah.
And of course, business, the blood of a business is cash flow. So eventually that failed tremendously. The website got hacked. If you go on YouTube, you can even see, if you Google Email Lounge, you'll see all the publishings that happened.
Did you detail it in a video, docu?
Yes, there was. I was even interviewed by Telesur, which is a national TV for Latin America, among other. If you go on YouTube and just type in Email Lounge, it should come up.
It should come up, okay.
But anyways, there was no cash flow, so eventually the website got hacked. I wasn't able to maintain a few things here and there. This is as an 18-year-old who's supposed to be in campus.
Right.
So that eventually failed tremendously. And at that time, I did not understand the concept of how to sell your business, how to exit.
Yeah.
You know, to me, I was really in it, and that I was learning as I went on. Once that failed, I believe the next thing I got into, I started doing freelancing work, which was speed drawing videos. And these were at that time, the speed drawing videos were the videos where it animates a brand. It basically just drawing with your hand quickly and it tells a story. So I was freelancing that for a while, and then I invested those resources I got into launching a clothwear brand.
Right.
And this was at the time when waist trainers were very popular in the United States. I think it was Kim Kardashian who put on a waist trainer. Yes, and it was a gold mine.
Yeah.
I launched that business to mainly support my then girlfriend, because of course I didn't know anything about the waist trainers and activewear.
Yeah.
But once again, I learned that she was not a business person, so I had to take over that and just learn the ins and outs of operating a retail business. That one also went into high places. I did speak. I was doing about 30,000 USD per month, and I had three
That's
stores.
A lot of money. Yeah.
Three stores
Kenya shillings.
in 3 different states.
Wow.
So it was in 2 states. Yeah, three stores in 2 states. The brand was called Royal Lioness. Even that one you can Google. You'll be able to find it.
Noted.
So then that early taste of success once again as a young person. I think I was in my early 20s.
Yeah.
I was just I was reckless. Did not know. Go on. Sorry.
Would you say those were maybe your most, I'd say, the times that you made a lot of mistakes before you became grounded? Because you're also a father, and we'll talk about the fatherhood part here. Would you say those are the years you made a lot of mistakes, wasted a lot of money, found yourself in situations that you can't put words to?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, you can just imagine in your early 20s making that much money in a country where, you know, there's a lot of things to explore, a lot of things to get into. The country is huge. You can fly to multiple states. Even you can fly to other countries nearby. So at a young age, I made tremendous mistakes with money, and also that dramatically failed. It reached a high peak, but I did not know how to take things on to the next level. My skill sets, my knowledge did not, it limited me as to how far I could go. And of course, the mistakes I made allowed me to lose everything and then have to start from scratch. So in terms of those mistakes, I'm glad I went through them early, because at this stage in my life now, I already know what's truth from fiction. You know, I've already been there, I've done that. So I have no intention to experience a similar thing. You know, my values, my motivation is completely different from what it was back then.
Exactly. Now you're a CEO of one of the Kenya's most reputable brands, and you'll talk about it. But then now talk about setting base right here in Kenya. What was the first product that you pitched, and how did it go? Did it pick up immediately? What were the lessons learned, and how did you guys scale?
Okay, so when I got into Kenya, this was late 2019. I came back to Kenya. This was after other businesses that failed and got into a couple of issues. The first thing I did was, like I said, my key has always been looking for a problem and looking for a solution to the problem, not necessarily just looking for something to sell. And at that time, this is me coming back to Kenya after a very long time. I noticed that Kenyans, same thing that I was doing in high school, Kenyans love to drink. So I realized that instead of being a distributor, I saw that where the opportunity was is being a manufacturer, and manufacturing a beverage, an alcoholic beverage that was unique.
Yeah.
To which I imported the distilleries from China. I had a brand named Amore. I didn't really launch it then, but I was introducing pink gin before the beef eaters and everything. This was in 2019.
Yeah.
And
before COVID. Okay.
yeah. And then that's when I faced the challenge of, like we were talking about before, the gatekeeping. I did not understand that to be an alcohol manufacturer in Kenya, you need to be a billionaire, basically. You need to have resources and connections, which I had none. I had some resources, but I did not have the know-how and the connection. Yeah. So then I decided to pivot into the next high-demand product that I could find, which was, at that time, I saw Jaba. And and my experience with it was horrible. I had a friend who invited me to try it out, and I hated the experience. I did not understand how trying to get the desired effect through this tedious journey, I felt like it could be simplified. Right. In which now the handles juice came on. Yeah. And at the same time, I was doing other businesses on the side. That was now on COVID time, on 2020. Yeah. So there was high demand for masks, for thermometers, things of that sort. So I used to import them.
Sanitizers.
Exactly. Yeah. I used to import them, distribute them, and with that, the revenue from that, I would put into launching and experimenting. Exactly. So investing in whatever marketing, whatever channel, whatever platform, whatever innovation, just everything, hiring people, all the revenue I was getting to put into Handers was from other hustles that I was doing on the side. Yeah.
So how did Handers get birthed? Was it a single-handed one-person
no.
a collaboration, or it was a group effort? Did you have income that you put in? Where did you get the resources here?
So as I mentioned, at the time there was other things I was doing on the side, which was the importing, and also there's still some businesses that I had in the States that are generating residual income for me. Yeah. It's not significant, but it was enough to do a couple of things here and there.
Yeah, at least to kickstart you off here.
Exactly. And Handers Juice did not start by just myself. I actually had a partner at the time. Actually, I had two partners at the time, to which we were pitching the idea from. And I guess they didn't, people are not used to execution and action. Yeah. So a lot of people were shocked that we were talking about this thing. Yeah. Then the next day, I'm experimenting doing this and that. They're like, hi, kumbe likuwa serious stuff.
By the way, I also say that it's really innovative and creative, because coming up with a beverage from Mira that required some bit of research as well as experimenting.
Yeah.
So did that happen scientifically? Did you engage with, there's a body as well that is in charge of chemicals and doing what? Did you do that?
So at that time, remember it was COVID time.
Yeah.
So movement and facilitation and meeting those agencies was a bit difficult. Right. So most of my research was based online, and on top of that, I was also experimenting based on everything I was learning. It was trial and error, trying this, seeing this is working, trying with a couple of friends and family. What do you think about this, etc. Then by the time the country started to open up, I already had a product that has been already tested, has been already peer reviewed, and then at that time was when I was now able to take it to a lab to now analyze the foundational structure of what I'm trying to build.
Yeah, the chemical aspect, technicalities,
exactly.
But before that, nutrition-wise.
Yes. But before that, it was all trial and error. It was just a vision, seeing what needed to be done. And by the way, I was not the first. There were still other people who were trying to do the same thing, but I did not know at the time. Yeah. So
how did you beat them at their game? Because if you go like Handers, I've personally not tested it, but I've seen celebrities post it, and how they say it's nutritional and how they're enjoying it, and it's in some of these hypermarkets and shopping malls or the nearest outlets. So how did you beat these other competitors and began to, strike this specific niche of yours for yourself, that's actually making you, say, carve a little bit of a niche in terms of getting specific consumers or customers who are specifically going to that outlet to buy handers. Yeah.
And it all boils down, at least on my end, from experience. As I mentioned, there was a bunch of other businesses that I started and they failed. They started, went to a certain level, failed. Went to a certain level, failed. Some of them went to extremely high levels and failed.
And we'll talk about failure and how you process failure as a CEO.
Sure, but all those experiences, they taught me something that I couldn't learn from anywhere else, which is being able to start a business from nothing, being able to create a product, being able to put it out there, being able to get customers to actually purchase that product. This is something that I've just learned from all the experiences that I've had in the past. So by the time I got into Handers Juice, it was honestly just too easy, because number one, Kenya has made things simple to put a product to a consumer now. And that simplicity has come from mainly events, and social gatherings, which is why I also got into it. It's just amazing how things work. They
production,
come
film production,
full circle.
And events,
So which is why I also host events, and I also have the brands which I have, is because when you have an event, for example, let's say the event has 2,000 people, you have 2,000 people who are looking to experience new things, new products, are looking to learn. Then now it's all a matter of how you position your brand and how you communicate your brand to them.
And that's placement on the market, actually.
Exactly.
Meaning that there's forces you had to use to literally strike that niche. Because I can believe all these competitors just, moving away from the road and you stamping your feet there. It means there's a little bit of pushback, but it's incredible you've said it was easy. It was seamless. It was like the marketing. Okay, when I say easy, I said it was easy. It's easy to put it was easy for me to put my product in front of a potential customer. However, convincing that customer to purchase the product was another challenge, because at that time it was a whole new product that people were not aware of, people did not understand, and there was the taboo also of chewing mirai and Jaba. So of course, convincing the potential consumer to purchase the product was a challenge. But putting the product there in front of the potential customer was easy. So now that challenge was now breaking that stigma and being consistent and communicating the differences, the values, the pros, the goodness of this product.
Exactly. So at that time, it was. I was helping the industry because at that time there was no one else, even though there was competition, but there was no one who was industrializing it and really putting it out there.
This was which year?
2020, like we started 2020.
COVID.
So even though there were other brands, but there was no one who was really industrializing it and putting really out there in the market. Yes, but once we figured it out, once we communicated that Jaba juice is actually a thing, and it became a cultural thing to indulge in, and that's when now other brands now started to come in, and it became easy for them. All the groundwork was done for them.
Maybe what are the tools that you would say you used to pivot for visibility? Because what are some of the tools that you used to, let's say, pivot for visibility in terms of making this brand now aware? Because right now, if you step, I believe if you go to any mall, you'll be able at least to see Jaba juice or Handers product on the shelf. Are there things that you had to do? I believe as well this touched on matter social media, because you're literally like an influencer and you are handling all these things under your umbrella.
So the most important pivot that I had to do was hiring the right people, because like I said, I came back to Kenya in 2019, and this was the last time I was in Kenya was in primary school, after finishing primary school. So that's over 15 years, I believe. I'm not quite sure the exact amount. I think I left 2011.
10 plus.
So by the time I'm coming back, I'm not really knowing people. The only people I know are my family and people I went to primary school with. So being able to approach these potential clients and locations was a bit of a challenge for me, because Kenya, it's all a matter of who you know. The people who you know are the ones who nepotism is a big deal. They're the ones who put you into the spaces.
The nepo babies.
Exactly. So I was facing a lot of challenges there, and then that's when now I started experimenting with partnering with individuals and hiring the right people who are now able to get into these circles and these and communicate to these people easily because they have a rapport with them. Whereas me, it enables me to focus on what I'm good at, which is the product development, the marketing, and the technical aspects of building a business. So hiring the right people was, I think, one of the most fundamental actions I took to catapult me to the next level.
Exactly, hiring the right people. But then also, maybe I'd like to just know, how did you use social media to catalyze awareness, and now receiving this loyalty that you're receiving is an incredible thing. How has social media impacted your product distribution?
Oh, tremendously.
Visibility?
Yeah, social media has impacted the business tremendously. And as I mentioned it to you before when we were discussing, social media has become extremely easy now because it's very content oriented. It doesn't matter how many followers you are, how big of a brand you have. If you have great content, it goes to the right people and it's gonna go. So our focus was heavily on social media and, as I mentioned, events as well. And once we started investing a bit more in the type of content we were doing and also understanding our target audience so we can mold our content to better communicate what we're trying to communicate to them, it just created a community, and it built the brand organically without much effort. And until this day, our biggest focus as a brand, one of our biggest focuses, let me say, is content creation. Because the return on investment from good content is astronomical compared to anything else.
Yeah, and that actually touches on a very important aspect, which is storytelling, because you could literally see an ad running on TV and it's short form, it's literally 30 seconds, but at least there's a story in those infographics. Maybe you can also talk about what is the importance of curating content in terms of brand storytelling and the perception that, or the message that the consumer receives, and how it impacts them and even motivates and pushes them to gravitate towards that brand. And a good example as well, you could just be walking at a supermarket and they'll be like, I think I used to use this toothpaste in 2020, let me get it. But initially you had something else in mind. It's interesting how that happens to people when they get to some of these shopping places. You'll be walking and be like, yeah, I think I like this, and you eventually end up taking it, but you had something else in mind because of the experience before, the message, and even, I'd say, even how it's been, I'd say, curated, its visibility on the shelf is just striking.
Exactly. And I believe with content creation right now, there's a huge gap in Kenya. You know, most major brands are owned by old school individuals that are still used to the old school way of marketing, which is basically put a product into a person's face and try to shove the product down their throats as much as possible. Buy this, buy that, buy this. Whereas there's a huge gap in storytelling, in really communicating directly to your target audience in a way that you're mentioning their pains and their pain points and their pleasure points and what they're going through in life, and then you're plugging in your product in. And it all boils down to understanding your target audience as much as you possibly can. And that's the biggest gap that I'm seeing in Kenya. I be telling my friends all the time, if I was a billionaire, it's over. This country is up for taking. Because the gaps are everywhere. I'll give you an example. If you're driving around anywhere and you look at the billboards, there's no creativity. Like, there's no like a memorable billboard right now that you can see on the road.
And they use the faces of celebrities. You'd see
that doesn't matter
Eric
anymore.
Omondi, you'd see,
if you see
Sarah Hassan.
It doesn't really matter anymore.
Cat actress. These are famous people known in the Kenyan celebrity circle.
Yes, but it doesn't really matter that much on certain products. You know, if you are communicating, if you are trying to sell an alcoholic brand, for example, then yes, you know, if you're trying to communicate class and everyone is using this product, then yes, using a certain influencer makes an impact. However, if you're trying to communicate the value of a product, you know, how it helps with your pain points, how it helps in your life, how it targets that target audience.
Yeah.
You don't need any of that. And which is why these billboards you're seeing are horrible. Like, these are people who are, I don't know how much they're paid, but they should all be fired. But these are people who are being paid ridiculous amounts of money for them to get an image from AI and just say,
And actually AI is revolutionizing advertisement, because you're now seeing AI-created ads even online as well, cropping up on videos. Some of them have been intentionally placed there. You'd say it's actually escalating content creation, but I understand you're vehemently against it.
No, I'm not against it. I'm very much with AI. But which is the other gap? There's so many gaps in the market, which is why, like, I try to communicate with young people all the time. Like, there's so much potential and opportunity out here. You just have to think outside of the box and look at what we have. You know, I was having a communication, and I'm sorry, I'll digress a bit, but
sure. Go ahead.
I was having a communication with a friend just yesterday, and we were talking about how you can go buy a box of screws in Kenya, and you will not see any that says made in Kenya. You know, even buying something like a pencil or toothpicks or like these simple consumer good products, a majority of them are not manufactured in Kenya, you know, and that's a huge opportunity right there. You know, you just have to see, understand the market, see what the market requires, and figure out a way to provide that product.
So more for consumers than producers, and that's a big gap actually.
Yes, and we have a scarcity mentality in which we think there's not enough for everyone when there's a lot more than enough for everyone. We think everyone is trying to take from our pot, when in reality, as long as you look at all the things you're able to create, all the value you're able to create, there's a lot. The resources are abundant. So going back to what you're talking about in terms of AI, I'm very much for AI. I just believe that people are using it the wrong way, in which, yes, it's okay to create content with AI, but I believe AI it's supposed to be a virtual assistant. It's supposed to assist you in things like creating a script, you know, creating ideas. If it's creating a design for you, you still have to manipulate it in some way for it to cater more to your audience.
Actually, you're running it and instructing it and regulating it.
Exactly. So instead of you give it all the job for it to do to you, you work with it. You share, like how me and you can now work on creating a product. We share ideas back and forth.
It's organic and engaging.
Based on your expertise, based on my expertise, we go back and forth to creating something, and that's where the gap lies. Everyone is just is giving AI a job. Do this for me, taking it and then putting it to
post it, share.
And people can see the difference. I mean, I'm sure the billboards that we're talking about, you know when an image is AI. You know,
it should just enhance performance, but not perform for you all the tasks.
Exactly. Well said. Well said.
Maybe just a little bit, if you were to compare advertisements in states and in Kenya, in Africa, since you've been in states for the longest time, maybe what would you say is the difference with what we do wrong in terms of messaging, I'd say placement as well? Because it's all about at least trying to ensure that you're in the right niche and not you're almost everywhere. Who is now the niche for this? And also as well, the way the packaging, I believe, there's a time I think it was Carolyn Mtoka who was talking about your packaging will sell itself. It will sell the product even before people consume it. That's just the way it's packaged on the shelf. And the design, like you mentioned, it sells the product before we even consume it. It attracts and strikes customers' attention.
It's all about communication. You know, ads in the States compared to here, the difference is night and day. And that's because, number one, they understand their target audience fully. And once you understand your target audience, it's easier for you to communicate to them. It's like your wife, you know, once you understand them fully, it's easy for you to communicate to her your needs and your wants and what you're trying to get out of them. And that's one thing that they understand very, very fully, whereas here, we've been spoiled by lack of competition. There, competition is like everyone. There's 100 people doing the same thing. So for you to stand out, you really, really have to figure out your niche and be able to target them properly. Here, on the other hand, you know, you have Blue Band, for example. Who's going to compete with Blue Band? You know, yes, there's prestige, but they target a completely different market compared to what Blue Band is targeting. You know, and it's the same with almost every other consumer brand. Most major consumer brands, there's just no room for innovation and improvement because there hasn't been unique competition for them to have to improve.
Yeah.
You know, they've been complacent, they've been spoiled. So, which is exactly why you can see the differences. All the ads that you see on TV, for example, in Kenya, are all from big brands who've been here for a long time.
Yeah.
They have no reason whatsoever to innovate. They already have their millions of customers. They know it's not going to change.
Yeah, customer loyalty is actually a thing in any business. Yeah.
Yes, but it's changing. It's changing tremendously
shifting.
because it's all about value now. You know, anyone can communicate to people, and it doesn't matter what brand you are. If this other brand is offering me value, no matter how much of a loyal customer I am to you,
Yeah,
I'll try them out. It doesn't matter what brand they are. They can be a brand new brand. Even though I still buy from you, one day I'll be in the supermarket and you sell, let's say you sell tissue papers, for example, but this brand has communicated to me the value of their tissue paper for this price, I'm going to try them out. And that process of trying out is what's changing the market, because once you try it out and you realize how much better this product is from the one I've been loyal to, that's it. I'm not coming back.
That's what's up,
So communicating the value is what's important nowadays compared to any other type of marketing, whether it's influencer, whether it's being a brand name. If you're communicating the value properly and I can see the value proposition, and when I do try your product, I can experience that value.
Yeah. That's it.
That's it.
Maybe let's talk about as well, before we get to, I'll say, some of the challenges and the failures you've endured being in the Kenyan market. Maybe what would you say are the things that you've had to actually do to ensure that you're here for a long time in the Kenyan market? Because I understand as well, when you're launching or pitching a product for the first time, there's usually those hurdles that come in between. Sometimes maybe the client, I'll say return customers for loyal businesses, it's not that constant. Today they're there, today they're not there. So how have you managed to stay afloat during unpredictable times? Because anyone who's building a brand, they want people to gravitate towards it all the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
And therein lies the answer to that question. People, you know, the market will always tell you what's working and what's not working. The market is your boss. For every brand, doesn't matter what brand or business you're in, the market is your boss. It will always communicate to you whether you're doing something right, whether you're not doing something right. So the most important aspect of any business is to be able to have that communication channel with the market. Yeah. So, for example, let's say I launch a product and the first year the product does great because there's no competition, for example. Yeah. I launch a product, the product does great, I have a lot of customers. Next year, a competitor comes in and they are doing better than me all of a sudden. Now I'm seeing my customer base reducing and reducing. And then I still have that customer base. I can still communicate to them, hey, why are you making this decision? What do you think about this, this, and that? What if I implement this, this, and that? And then you, of course, try your competitor as well. You purchase from them, see what they're doing, try and tweak based on what they're doing. You know, it's a sport. Business is a sport. Just like how soccer players or basketball players, they keep going to the gym. They keep seeing, like when we were kids, when we were playing ball, we'd see a move on TV, like, oh yeah, I want to try and do that.
They keep on upskilling, literally.
Exactly. Tweaking,
they
you're
add
tweaking.
pizzazz and zest and flavor
Exactly.
and style all the time.
That's how business is. You have to just keep doing those reps, keep tweaking, keep learning, keep listening to your customers, because they will always, like I said, your customers, the market is your boss. Your customers are your boss. They will always communicate exactly what they need.
They want,
and as long as you are able to fulfill exactly what they need,
then you have their attention. Access guaranteed. Now you're also a family man and you're running so many franchises. Please talk about how you're managing to be a dad of kiddos who are all over in your faces and running this. Maybe you can also talk about some part of other brands that I've not mentioned, but I've seen some of the celebrities post them, the influencers consuming some of your products as well. Talk about how you're striking that flexibility, being a dad, being a CEO, and interacting and engaging, being present in all these areas of your professional and personal life.
Being a dad is one of the most difficult things that you can ever go through as a business person, but it's one of the most fulfilling and grounding journeys that you can go through. So I still feel like I'm bad at being a dad. Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of times I'm like, do I really have these kids? Like, did God really allow me to have kids? Like, does he really know the type of person I am?
Yeah, actually on your Instagram you've indicated just a boring dad who happens to be involved in some cool things.
Yeah.
Wow.
which is it's exactly is my focus is because
Yeah.
being a dad is what really it grounds me. Like
Yeah.
every day when I wake up, yes, I have employees that I have to take care of, but now that I have a family and kids, I mean their livelihoods depends on me. You know, their well-being largely depends on me.
So how do you strike the flexibility of being a present father and then switching back into the personality of a CEO? Hey guys, it's me, and I'm here, and everybody. Yeah, how do you switch between that? Yeah.
Number one, I try to intermingle them. Actually, no. Number one, I'll say I'm fortunate enough to have a very good partner who allows me to be able to do the things that I do. You know, she really has my back. She really motivates me and pushes me to get things done. Whereas she holds down, you know, she does the most important job in the world, which is being able to make sure these kids are fine and the household is fine, and being able to charge me up so I can go and fight those demons, you know, every day.
In the workspace.
So the number one thing I'll say is I was blessed by God to have, you know, to be the luckiest man in the world to have my partner.
An incredible partner.
Yeah. The other thing is I try to intermingle my family and business.
Yeah.
You know, so for example, I'll go to work with my kids. I'll go to work with my wife. Whether like I'll go to a date at a place, maybe it's a place that already I do business with.
Yeah.
I take my kids to events sometimes to look at how we're putting things up, how we're putting things down. So
just having the experience and the exposure.
Yes, I intermingle them.
Wow.
And also I try to have meetings at home as much as I possibly can, so that, you know, I'm there, but like I intermingle them because it's who I am. You know, it's become me. You know, yes, I am a businessman, but I'm also a father. So I don't really switch on and off. I try to intermingle it.
I'm interested at that part where you said you're not sure if you're the best dad, but we'll talk about that off air.
Okay.
I think it's a good thing as well to talk about fatherhood and how sometimes it's uncertain, it's unpredictable, you don't feel like you're doing your best, but yet you're doing your best, and you just need a little bit of razzmatazz to validate, hey, you've come too far. But then let's talk about failure. What is, let's say, an interpretation or a version of failure in a CEO mindset like you are? What does failure look like to you if you were to actually explain it to someone in just, you know, in a short perspective? And how do you process failure?
That's a good question. Ironically, I have a tattoo. It's faded off. I had a tattoo here on my hand that was an L. Okay. It's kind of faded now. You can only see a couple of things here.
Yeah, actually I can see the stresses.
Yes, so because it was in here. But the reason I had that tattoo is because people look at L as a loss. You know, I look at L as a lesson. You know, I look at L as opportunity for love, opportunity for life. So how I look at failure, I look at it as an opportunity.
Yeah.
I look at it as God's way of communicating to you what's not working. You know, the universe communicating that this specific approach that you're doing is not it. It doesn't mean quit and give up and, you know, that's it. It means tweak it, try something else. You know, learn from what you did wrong, try and do something right next time, you know, and you probably will fail again and again and again and again
until it gets better.
Yeah, I think it was Thomas Edison who had a quote that said, the surest way to guarantee success is by trying one more time. You know, so no matter how many times, failure is a guarantee. You know, with losses come gain. You know, in fear, that's where courage comes. in the opposite is where you gain the opposite. So failure is for
part of the
sure. It's a
journey.
guarantee.
It's a guarantee.
You just have to
Yeah.
be in love with the journey and understand that, you know, the destination is not over. That failure is it's not over. It's only over when you're 6 feet deep.
Yeah. Easy come, easy go.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, sorry, go on.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, you're almost exiting. We're just 30 seconds away. I want you to talk about shortly, in just 30 seconds, and then we can give out socials. Maybe if you were to advise a young upcoming brand, a startup that's looking forward to pivot and get the Kenyan visibility in terms of prominence, get influencers to work with them like the way they're working with you, do collaborations, what would be your advice to them? Yeah.
Advice for them to get influencers or advice for them to succeed
Literally
in the
to
Kenyan
just
market?
jet set and kickstart, yeah.
I'd say number one, focus on your content. Your content is king. Number one is understand your target audience, your niche as much as possible. Once you understand your niche, create content that communicates directly to them as directly as possible. And number three, fail fast and tweak. Learn from your failures as quickly as possible and tweak your product over and over and over again.
Absolutely.
I think those three things.
Absolutely, big time. I like that. Tell people how they can collaborate with you, where they can find you, and also if they want to send in letters of employment for that. Gen Z,
So, yeah, you can find a couple of my brands. There's Handa's Juice at Handa's Juice, HANDASJUICE. There's events that I do. There's Rhythm and Brunch, which is at Rhythm and Brunch Africa. There's Millennials Cookout, which is at The Millennials Cookout, which are under the brands Crispy Life. There's also Most Wanted Entertainment. I have a lot of brands. I think if I go on, I'll take all your time.
Yeah.
But Handa's Juice is the main brand, and my personal one is Brian.Kiriba.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So they can find you on those respective platforms. I appreciate you for your time. This conversation is endless. I hope we have a part 2 with you, even if we extend it online. But thank you so much. Great to meet you in person. Good conversation. Hope to meet you again. Yeah.
Thank you.
Karibu sana. And karibu sana to you too for watching us from exactly 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. We appreciate you for your time. I and my co-host Stephanie will see you tomorrow. Yes, yeah. Although different faces. At Brand Sako 101 at Y254 channel. See you tomorrow. Thank you for watching.